It's my pleasure today to have Jane Zachrich here today. I think most of us in here know her, if not all of us. Jane was born and raised in Defiance and graduated in 1992 with her associate's degree in applied science / registered nurse. Finished her Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree in 2006 and a Master of Science in Nursing and Nurse Educator in 2008. She came to Community Memorial Hospital in December of 2006 as a Chief Nursing Officer, and she retired from that position in March of 2018 and returned in June of 2019 to work part-time as a grant writer. And as a lot of you know, she was offered and accepted an interim Chief Executive Officer position in May 2019 for a 6-month period, and she was then offered and accepted the position as CEO in November 2019. So she has been the CEO down there officially for almost a year. So please welcome Jane Zachrich.
Well, it's certainly my pleasure to be here again to speak to you today. It's really difficult for me to get away, seems like here lately, out of the office for much. So I appreciated the invitation from Turk. So I thought I would just start talking out today, talking a little bit about what's happened to the hospital since the whole COVID pandemic was announced back in June or in March. You know, there was a great deal of misinformation that started at the very beginning, and it began with the announcement by Governor DeWine that Ohio was going to have an expected surge of 35,000 patients into the state. So every hospital was required to increase their capacity by double if possible, which we couldn't do double, but we did manage to add 15 beds, changing different parts of departments, buying extra equipment, providing extra protective personal equipment for the nursing staff. That number was relatively quickly downgraded to 2,500 patients as a surge, which never happened. I was on CEO calls through the month of March and April with the governor's office, and they were going to open up the Seagate Center in Toledo, Ohio as an alternate care site that hospitals were going to send their positive COVID patients to. They called the National Guard in to do all this work, and after a few weeks decided that while the planning should continue, they didn't want them to actually do any work because they realized that there wasn't going to be a surge for the state of Ohio. So it has cost hospitals a lot of money, a lot of manpower, a lot of equipment for nothing. They did shut our ability down to create revenue through our surgery department. We were not allowed to do any surgery unless it was an emergent procedure. And it's not just surgery volume that we lost. We lost radiology revenue, we lost laboratory revenue, we lost physical therapy revenue. None of these patients were coming in for services. So it was quite a hit to the hospital. And then to go along with that, our vendors were increasing the prices that they charged us for our masks and our gowns and gloves and sanitizer, sometimes up to 3 times the original cost. Then we had visitor restrictions where we were required to limit the number of people that came into the building and who could come in and how long they could stay. And it's very difficult. It's hard for us to put those restrictions in place as it is to explain to the public why we have to do it and why you can't be in with your loved one. We still are screening all visitors that come into the building. We still screen all of our employees that come into the building. It's a very consuming, very expensive process for us. We're trying to use technology. We've got some few things that we're going to be purchasing here that'll be electronic in nature, so we're not having manual screenings done. I thought I'd share with you our surgery volume in July of this year was finally back up to where it should be. We had 125 cases this last July compared to 113 in 2019. And in August, we still had a volume of 150 cases. And last August was a bit more at 136 cases. And to put this into comparison, when I first came to community, and the first year I did the budget for the surgery department, the CFO at the time asked me to budget for 50 cases a month, and I said, there's no way. And here we are, over 100 cases every single month. So the growth back there has just been phenomenal. A lot of that is due to Dr. Grothaus, our orthopedic surgeon. I do and am so proud to announce that we are buying a robot for our surgery department for Dr. Grothaus. It'll be used initially for knee replacement and then move to hips. It'll be delivered sometime next week, and we will have media present. We'll do an open house, community event. They'll bring a trailer in with a demo robot on it, so people will be able to go through, be able to see the robot, see how it works. That'll probably be sometime in November. But it sure pleases me to be able to say that we'll be the first hospital in Defiance County to have a robot in their surgery department. We are changing our electronic medical record company vendor from Cerner, which we've had since May 2012, to a different company called Meditech. Much less expensive, more robust, just an all-around better product, and it will be both on the physician side and the hospital side, and that will just smooth out many, many processes, because currently we have two different systems that don't talk to each other. So this will be a really good change. We'll go live with Meditech February 1st, 2021. We also hired 2 new people. I hired Ben Pfizer from Bryan. He'd been there 14 years. He comes to us as our Chief Information Officer, and he is just absolutely wonderful. I hope someday you have a chance to meet him. He has the wealth of knowledge like I have never experienced in somebody that works in the Information Systems Department. He has just been wonderful. So we're so very glad to have him. He started in June. And then just this month, we hired a nurse informaticist. Her name is Robin Green. She has relocated to Defiance, so she's driving in from Defiance. She will be responsible for teaching the new Meditech system to new employees that come in. She will be the go-to person if we have problems with Meditech and trying to find something, or somebody doesn't know how to document in some way, and it's for the physicians as well as for the employees. So she will have an overall expertise in the whole system and be able to help wherever she's needed. So I'm really excited to have her come on board also. We have made the difficult decision to keep HealthFit closed for now, and that's mainly due to all the regulations that surround having an exercise place open. I know we've had lots of phone calls and lots of concern that it stayed closed, but we cannot monitor people that use the equipment, whether they're wiping it down or not. We just don't have the staff. We can't sanitize showers between people. There is just a lot of reasons why we have decided to keep that closed. So until the governor lifts some of his requirements, it will stay closed, which is unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. We are looking at 2 new services to come to Community Memorial Hospital. We are in the final planning stages for a hematology oncology group out of Fort Wayne to set up an oncology service in the hospital. They'll be using one of the specialty clinics. It's a great arrangement for us. It's a lease arrangement. They bring their own staff. The physician is not ours. They're employed by this group. They bring the oncology drugs. They bring their own equipment. The most expense that we have is that we have to do a little bit of renovation to knock down a wall between 2 smaller rooms to make one big room, so they can bring the oncology recliners in for patients to make them comfortable, because they're there a long time. So I'm really excited. We hope to have that in place by the beginning of the year. And next, and probably most of you know that Dr. Kaplansky left us last year, and we have been searching for another opportunity to have pain management come back to the hospital. And we've been talking to a group called Pain Management Group out of Findlay, and we're close to making a decision with that group. We're not quite sure what model we're going to use yet. I prefer a lease model because I don't want to add any expense to the hospital at this point. But they will be able to provide the full range of pain management for people, including narcotic addiction and all of that. So we're really excited that we have an opportunity to work with this group to bring services. So 2 new services coming to the hospital, certainly by the first of next year. When Dr. Kaplansky left us, we lost our ability to provide EMGs for our patients. And thanks to the auxiliary and the foundation, we have purchased a new EMG machine. This is for nerve conduction tests. If you've ever had one, if you have back problems or any kind of nerve problems, they will use it to test the viability of a nerve path down your leg or wherever the problem might be. I had an agreement with the physician coming out of Bryan, and I'm not sure what's going on over there, but I was notified last week that there was a problem and he can't come. So now I have a very expensive machine sitting in the hospital with no one to use it. So I'm looking for another physiatrist to be able to come, and we're talking to somebody out of Toledo at this point. So we have received some grant money to be able to cope with some of the expenses of complying with COVID. Turk passed out for me to you a couple of pieces of information. The first one is called a torch, and we were able to buy this. It's a $25,000 piece of equipment, and after my housekeepers go in and clean a room, they put this piece of equipment in the room, uses ultraviolet lights, they turn it on, they exit the room, they use a remote. Then to start the process, it takes 15 minutes. It's very inexpensive to run, and it will clean the rest of the room of things that aren't visible to the eye. We have modules that go along with that records the date, the time, what was cleaned, how long it took them. So when Joint Commission comes and says, how do you know this is effective, we can pull that out and give them a report on it. We purchased a new EKG machine. We purchased another BiPAP machine, which is people who have difficulty breathing, just need the extra support, but not a ventilator support. We also have a new piece of equipment for a lab called the BioFire, and I did pass, that's a single page for you. And what is so nice about this piece of equipment is that we can now do COVID testing in-house. If I have a patient that's in the emergency room, within 45 minutes we can have a positive or negative test back for them. And it does a whole lot more. Everything that's on that page is listed as what the BioFire will run, that whole panel. But certainly the most important thing right now for us is the COVID testing. Because if you are positive COVID testing, that's one treatment. If you're not positive and you test negative, but you still have symptoms, we can treat those symptoms, but it's not COVID. So there is a difference between the treatment, whether you're positive or negative. And before we were having to send out to LabCorp or to UT, and it got out to be 5 days turnaround time before we were able to get any results back, and that's too long to wait. So fortunately, through a grant money, we were able to purchase BioFire machine. It was $45,000 just for the machine itself. And then there's modules that go into the machines. Those are also $45,000 each. We were able to buy 2 modules with the grant money. There's still reagents to purchase and other supplies that go along with that, but we've been able to get them, so that's good. But again, it's just because of the speed. Now 45 minutes is all that it takes to get a result back to the physician, so he or she knows how to care for this patient. That's really all the updates and news that I have for the hospital, but I'm certainly willing to answer any questions that anybody has about what's going on, any rumors, any other things that you'd like to ask me about. I'm pretty transparent when it comes to what's going on up there, so please feel free to ask any question.
You talked about getting extra modules for this BioFire thing. What do the modules do, or what do you do?
That's what actually runs the test. It's the BioFire is like a big, you know what a centrifuge looks like? It's that big thing that sits in the middle and it goes around like this. Well, there's modules that go in that holds the specimen. we were able to buy 2 of those.
So in other words, you can test more, do more tests at one time.
We can do right now 2 patients at a time. It only takes 45 minutes. So if we, we can run 2 patients every 45 minutes. That's pretty good. That's far better than LabCorp or any other send out that we do. But yeah, so
These
that's
are pretty accurate.
very, 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 very accurate. And it's molecular level, but that's the most accurate that you can get for a biological test is down at the molecular level. So yes, it's extremely accurate. There would not be any false positives or false negatives with this.
I have a comment about that. My daughter goes to the IU Health Methodist, and when she read that, somewhere along their line, that you guys got this biofire, she was so impressed. It brought Hicksville up in her realm of places to potentially look for work, because that was a really big deal for them down there. So I thought that was pretty cool. How many are in your lab?
How many? We have one.
One.
One. But again, at this point, I don't know that we need more than one with a turnaround time of 45 minutes. I mean, we're just not big enough that we need more than one machine, and the fact that it's very expensive. So, but thank you. It's always been a goal of mine, whether I was functioning as the chief nursing officer or the CEO, to continually raise the bar of service that we were able to provide for this community, and we've done that. I'm very proud of our hospital, all the advances that we have. I don't think people realize how advanced we are as a small hospital here, and how proud you should be of what we have here.
I have 2 questions. First of all, you're having your health fair, right?
Yes, I should have mentioned that. We are having our health fair. It's October 15th, 16th, and 17th from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the community rooms, just like we had before. You will have to wear a mask. You will be screened coming in. There will be marks, little X's on the floor where you have to put your feet on to be the 6 feet away. We'll have one door for the public, one community room door for public, one community room door for our employees, because everybody comes. We have employees tested at the same time. We are asking if it's possible to save the first hour of each day for the senior citizens, so we kind of get them in and out before younger people come in, just so they feel a bit more comfortable coming in. But certainly, people have to get to work, and if that's the only time you can come, that's the only time you can come, and that's fine.
Oh, it was about your suppliers increasing their costs to you. Is it from greed, or is it because they had issues with getting their cost of goods purchased? And I mean, that's sad. If that's the case, because everybody's selling this stuff.
I know that, the Northwest Ohio Emergency Management Coalition, which was formed in March, that was the CEOs of hospitals pretty much of all of Ohio. The president of that organization said, if you feel like you have a vendor that's price gouging, please let us know. And we also had a process set up where if I was unfamiliar with a vendor, I could have that vendor vetted through that organization. I think it was simply a supply and demand. Everybody was required to increase their PPE so much that there just simply wasn't enough to go around. And so what happens when you have people clamoring for the same product for an extended period of time. Those prices are going to go up because they can't keep up with demand. Don't really have that problem now. However, we still are on allotment, which makes it very difficult for a very busy surgery department. We are allowed 1 case of gowns a month. We are allowed so many boxes of gloves a month, and that's all we're allowed. So there's a cache in the state of Ohio that you can request supplies through if you feel like you're going to be short. And I've done that through the Emergency Management Agency out of Defiance. We've had great support from the community. We've had so many businesses donate to us gowns and gloves and masks, and that's helped an awful lot trying to keep our expenses down. Thank you to any and all of you that did donate in some way to the hospital. We had businesses that brought food in week after week after week. It was just amazing to see the support from the community for the hospital. So yeah, I don't think there was price gouging, it felt like it. When we were paying, 17 cents for a pair of gloves and it went to $3 for a pair of gloves, that's pretty scary. But I think it was simply supply and demand, which is our free capitalist society, right? You can get what you can get. Any other questions at all? Any other comments, concerns? No? Well, thank you so much for your attention.